Welcome everyone back to Mr. Dar Weather Updates, and today's video on UKV having the temperatures in the next 5 days and the temperatures as well on the next precipitation ones on the UKV as well. Well, let's look at the GFS, ECM and UK Meteo for the next couple of weeks. So if we do have a look at the live radar, you can see there is a band of rain, persistent rain over Scotland at the moment from a cold front. This will, throughout the evening, could turn quite heavy, perhaps London as well. No thunderstorms yet there though, it's just a bit of persistent rain. If you look at the rest of England, you can see there's a couple of showers forming in the northwest. You can see one there in Lancashire, Greater Manchester, just one trying to form there. And I think that's basically it for the precipitation. And I think these showers, I don't think they'll turn thundery, but if they do, they'll be quite strong. But I've been looking at the radar for the past couple of hours, and I think this one will dissipate again, because most of these, there's quite a strong capping in the atmosphere at the moment, so it's unlikely this will grow into anything severe, just, you know, normal scattered showers, but this will be going in this type of direction. If you do compare to the UKV, having a precipitation for the next 5 days, you can see that was today, obviously, so obviously it's going to get to around these values, a bit lower than expected, but, you know, quite similar. If you do look at Saturday's temperatures, you can see there's quite a contrast. In the northwest, sorry, northeast actually, not northwest, there's quite a, let's say, cooling breeze, a cooling sea breeze. So it's in areas that are low to mid-teens at the far northeast of Scotland, and even in northeast of England, we're in the teens due to that sea breeze. It's quite a strong breeze. Otherwise, most western areas in the north, maybe high 20s. Some areas in Scotland could get still 27 degrees tomorrow. And also in northern England, but a bit lower than recent in England though, as temperatures just started to decrease for just this time, but they will increase again throughout the following week. Otherwise, rest areas, high 20s, low, maybe even mid 30s as well. 32, perhaps even 33 or 34 Celsius possible tomorrow, so still quite hot, but not as widespread as, you know, today. And obviously yesterday as well. Looking at Sunday's values, you can see temperatures recovering a little bit in the east though, still quite cool. And a bit cooler for northern areas, now wildly in the mid 20s, 24 Celsius there in Scotland as well. And you can see in the rest of the areas, high 20s, low teens, so low 30s shall I say. So right, but 32, 33 Celsius is still possible in some areas of the southwest. If we do have a look at Monday, very similar really, if not a little bit down. Scotland though, temperatures are increasing. We're now widely in the low to mid 20s. You can see 24 Celsius in the Highlands, so it could be quite warm for them actually. And then obviously rest of areas, northeast, less northeastern England, most other areas, low to mid 20s in the north, with the coolest day of that week actually. And then you can see southern areas most likely to see low 30s, so gradually getting cooler. 31, maybe 32 Celsius still possible though. As we head into Monday, then temperatures actually increase a bit further. So it actually is going up again a little bit, because the high pressure actually rebuilds as we go through next week. We are talking about, okay, so in Scotland, we could see highs of 24, 25, 26 Celsius is possible in Scotland. So quite a lot actually for them areas. Local heatwave thresholds there. And also looking into northern England, again mid 20s widely, so a little bit warmer there. And then as we get into central southern areas, we're widely in the low, perhaps even mid 30s. Now I don't know if this is a low resolution model, so I'm a little bit skeptical about this. However, it doesn't seem it could happen, but that would mean that the cooling trend would be disrupted by this hot spell. So I don't think it'll be as hot as this one, but you know, it's something that could happen. So we could see values coming back into the mid-30s. 34 Celsius is still likely on Tuesday. But I'm a little bit sceptical we're getting a little bit higher than that, really. If we do have a look at the precipitation, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think there's much talk about the precipitation unless in Scotland. We could see some heavy thundery showers in Scotland that could persist. Otherwise, unless we get an isolated thundery shower, I think most of areas will stay dry with and clear spells. Into tomorrow, very similar again. Widely very clear, other than the northeast where we could still see some persistent rain possible. Late into Saturday, the cloud could thicken over a little bit from the North Sea. Could be a little bit cloudy, a little bit grimmer there for the morning. Otherwise, that's going to quickly break up into Sunday and another nice clear day, even for Scotland. The cloud will be retreating there as well. And then obviously, as we get into Sunday, very nice day there. Looking on to Monday, again, no precipitation yet, unless we've got southwestern areas that could tip into some heavy showery rain that will disperse as it goes in through the continent. So it could still be a little bit wet there. We are at risk of seeing an isolated thundery shower though on Tuesday. Not really high Cape levels though, if I'm being completely honest. Oops. But there's still something that could happen actually. So it could be a thunderstorm that could happen, and it will be travelling northeast. If that lets me do it. And as we go throughout Tuesday, some areas could see some isolated thunder showers Tuesday into Wednesday. If you do have a look at GFS, this is the 6Z run. So you can see the high pressure kind of breaks a little bit today, but then it centres back into Scotland. So very widely dry and warm theme as you go closer to that centre of high pressure. Still hotter temperatures in the south though. As we go through that week, that thundery low could tap in throughout the week. May get a few thunderstorms in the south. I don't think it's going to be a proper thundery breakdown though, if I'm being completely honest. Not really as of confidence in his let's say yesterday's spell, or let's say a thundery breakdown, if I'm completely honest. But as we go throughout the weekend, we're still a little bit warmer than average. There's not really any signs, according to GFS anyway, we may get relief from this heat until the 20th. We can still see that high pressure is dominating. We're still in that blocking high pressure onto 22nd in 12 days, which was the area where it was supposed to get a bit cooler. So if this was the setup, it could be bringing in a southerly direction in this direction, which would supply some very hot air from the near continent, supplying probably mid to high 30s actually, if that had to happen. Unlikely really, it's only one model one, so it's a little bit of certainty rather than this actually happening. There's some low pressure systems there, so it's still possible that could push into the west. However, if that had to happen, that high pressure could dominate throughout the rest until the very end of the month, really. And it's that classic theme of it being a bit of an omega block. If I could draw it on, there's a bit of an omega block there, which you kind of would notice for, let's say, very, let's say, hot setup, heatwave setup. But as we do go for the very end of this model, we do see like this blocking, this cut off low, I think, because it's cut off from the main system, isn't it? That could tap into England and linger for quite a long time, for a couple of days maybe. So low pressure systems there, supplying northwesterly winds from the Atlantic, supplying some cooler, more settled weather for a time. But GFS wants to persist the hot weather for just a little bit longer than previous models. If we do compare to the ECM, you can see again we've got the high pressure retreating to the northwest between Scotland and Iceland. And as we go throughout the week, that could strengthen, get some further hot spells throughout midweek. And then that lets out for that thundery breakdown, most likely. I think this one's more like thundery breakdown rather than GFS. Obviously, that's only towards the south though. And as we go throughout the week, again, there's no real signs of low pressure until after the 20th. We're still in this high pressure. Maybe a bit thundery in the low southwest, but I think that's all the rain really. No, not much rain. It could be a little cooler as we go through at the end, very end, if I'm being honest. However, still, we're not really getting much of a respite from the let's say hot weather. If we do compare to the UK Met Euro run, you can see again a little high pressure bit rebuilding. And it's supplying a southeasterly wind direction, which is the hottest direction at the start of the year. Then that goes to into Scotland and Iceland, where you're closer to high pressure, you're more likely to get settled weather for Scotland. So much needed for Scotland, actually, because they've had a lot of rainfall, but not for England, really. We've got that thundery low trying to tap in at times, but it does just stay there. It just meanders through the high pressure. It gets compressed, it stays there, and it's not doing much, really. But we could see a thunder breakdown if that had to happen. But if, again, I think the UK Met Euro run is, overreacting a little bit. Because the 22-degree isotherm is a little bit hot, really. I think that's temperature 38 degrees, I think, for that one. I don't think that's going to happen, really. I'm a bit sceptical, a bit mixed models, really. So I'm not too sure, I have to say. But it's possible we could see some of further water, let's say heat waves, let's say. It's a bit hard to say. To see. But yeah, but the most likely scenario is we're not really going to have a proper breakdown in the cooler, more unsettled weather until at least after the 25th of July. So we may have to wait a little bit. We still could have potential of seeing some very some hot spells, rather than a breakdown into a proper cool. There may be some respite at the 20th as the pressure does start to decrease. However, it does start to rebuild again as we go into Friday, for example, with a 22-degree isotherm. Hopefully that doesn't happen on there, because I want to go on holiday and I don't want it being delayed by the hot weather, actually, and I don't want it delayed by the unsettled weather either. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. So yeah, a bit uncertain really. So I'll have to call this video model uncertainty, because the models are all over the place and I'm not too sure about that yet. It's a bit mixed really. So we'll have to see what happens later. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.